Chapter 1. The Chocolate Invitation. There are ordinary nights, and then there are nights that shimmer with promise, like a golden ticket hidden inside a chocolate bar. That's exactly how Asher Benjamin felt when he stepped into Willy Wonka's chocolate factory one bright spring evening. The factory sparkled with rivers of melted chocolate, trees made of peppermint and candy that sang when you unwrapped it. "Welcome, my sweet friend," called Mr. Wonka, his purple coat fluttering as he twirled his cane. "Tonight isn't just any night, it's a night of freedom coated in chocolate and sprinkled with wonder." Asher smiled. "Actually, Mr. Wonka, tonight is Passover, the night we remember how God set our people free from slavery in Egypt." Wonka's eyes lit up. "Ah, a story of deliverance. How deliciously dramatic. Tell me everything, my boy. But with just a touch of chocolate, of course." And so, surrounded by the hum of candy machines and the sweet smell of cocoa, Asher began his tale. The story of how God turned bitterness into freedom and darkness into light. Chapter 2. The Promise and the Pharaoh. Asher began. "Long ago, our people, the Israelites, lived in Egypt. They came there because of a man named Joseph who had once saved Egypt from famine, but generations later a new Pharaoh arose, one who didn't remember Joseph at all. He feared the Israelites because they had grown strong and numerous, so he made them slaves, forcing them to work in the hot sun, building cities and carrying heavy stones." Wonka gasped, "How terribly unfun." It was, Asher said softly. But even in their pain, the Israelites cried out to God, and God heard them. He had a plan to send a deliverer named Moses. Chapter 3. The Burning Bush. Asher continued, his voice filled with awe. Moses was a humble shepherd, living quietly in the desert when one day, he saw a bush that was on fire, but it wasn't burning up. When he came closer, he heard God's voice calling his name. "Moses, Moses!" And Moses answered, "Hineni, here I am." God told him to take off his sandals because he was standing on holy ground. Then God said, "I have seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I will rescue them and bring them to a good land, a land flowing with milk and honey." Asher paused, remembering the story that had been told for thousands of years. Moses was afraid. He didn't think he was brave or eloquent enough to speak to Pharaoh, but God promised to be with him, to give him the words to say. And Moses obeyed. Chapter 4. Let my people go. Wonka leaned forward, hanging on every word. Moses went to Pharaoh and said, "Adonai, the God of the Hebrews, says, let my people go." But Pharaoh's heart was hard. He refused. So Asher said, "God showed his power through mighty wonders. The 10 plagues, the Nile turned to blood. Frogs swarmed through the streets. Lice and flies filled the air. Animals grew sick. Boils covered the people. Hail rained down with fire. Locusts devoured the crops. And then came darkness, a darkness so thick it could be felt." Wonka shivered, a darkness that even my brightest candy couldn't sweeten. Asher nodded. Still, Pharaoh would not let the people go. So God sent one final plague, the death of the firstborn. But to the Israelites, God gave a sign of protection. Each family was to take a perfect lamb and place its blood on their doorposts. When the angel of death saw the blood, it would pass over that house. Wonka's eyes softened. "Ah, Passover. So that's where the name comes from." Yes, Asher said that night, our people were saved. God's mighty hand brought freedom. Chapter 5. The Escape in the Sea. When Pharaoh finally let the Israelites go, Asher said they left in such a hurry that their bread didn't even have time to rise. That's why we eat matzah on Passover, flat bread that reminds us how quickly God delivered us. Wonka smiled. Matzah, the original fast food. Asher laughed. Maybe so. But Pharaoh changed his mind and chased after the Israelites with his army. They came to the Red Sea and felt trapped, but Moses lifted his staff and God parted the waters. The people crossed on dry land. Walls of water stood tall on each side. When they reached the other side, the sea closed again and Pharaoh's army was swept away. Wonka clapped his hands. A sweet escape. I would have made chocolate waves instead, but the miracle sounds perfect as it is. Asher grinned, and that's how our ancestors became free. They sang songs of praise to God, who had rescued them. Chapter 6. The Seder plate and its meaning. Wonka wiped a tear from his eye. "Such a powerful story, Asher. But tell me, how do you remember all this at your Seder?" Asher looked around at the candy tables and imagined turning them into symbols. "Well, Mr. Wonka, each food on the Seder plate reminds us of something from that night." He picked up a round chocolate cookie. "The zeroa, or shank bone, reminds us of the Passover lamb that was sacrificed." He held up a chocolate egg. "The beitzah, the roasted egg, reminds us of new life and the offerings once made at the temple." He pointed to a bitter dark chocolate square. The maror, or bitter herbs, remind us of the bitterness of slavery. Then he grabbed a little cluster of crushed nuts and caramel. This here is the karok set. It's sweet, but it represents something hard, the mortar our ancestors used when they were forced to make bricks in Egypt. Wonka gasped, a sweet that symbolizes something bitter, delightfully unexpected. Asher smiled and lifted a tiny sprig of candy-coated parsley. And this is the karpas. We dip it in salt water to remember the tears of the Israelites. The parsley itself reminds us of the hyssop used to put the lamb's blood on the doorposts during the very first Passover. Wonka nodded. Deeply moved, Asher finished by holding up a cracker of white chocolate. And this is the matzah. It reminds us that we left Egypt in a hurry, no time for the dough to rise. Wonka clasped his hands together. So even simple foods can tell a story, one of faith, freedom, and flavor. Chapter 7, The Hidden Afikoman. Asher smiled. And then comes one of my favorite parts. The Afikoman, a piece of matzah, is broken, hidden, and later found by the children. Wonka's eyes twinkled. A hidden treasure. I adore games like that. Yes, Asher said quietly. It reminds us of something greater. Yeshua, our Messiah, just as the Afikoman is broken, hidden, and then found. Yeshua was broken for us, buried, and then resurrected. He is our Passover Lamb whose sacrifice gives us freedom and new life. Wonka placed his hand over his heart. A sweet mystery indeed. Chapter 8, The 4 Cups of Promise. Asher looked around the chocolate room, the rivers, the candy trees, the golden light glowing through the glass ceiling. At every Seder, he said, we lift 4 cups of juice or wine. Each cup tells a promise from God. The first is the cup of sanctification. God says, I will bring you out. The second is the cup of plagues. We remember what God did to set his people free. The third is the cup of redemption, reminding us of the Lamb's blood that saved us. And the fourth is the cup of praise, where we give thanks for all God has done. Wonka listened intently. 4 cups, 4 promises, my dear boy. That's sweeter than anything I could ever make. Chapter 9, The Sweetness of Freedom. The chocolate factory grew quiet, the candy machine slowed to a gentle hum. Wonka and Asher stood side by side, gazing at the chocolate river that shimmered like bronze under the lights. Mr. Wonka, Asher said, Passover isn't just about what happened long ago. It's about what still happens today. How God rescues us from things that hold us captive, how he leads us to freedom. Wonka smiled. So freedom isn't just a story, it's a flavor, a taste of heaven itself. Asher nodded. Yes, every generation has its own pharaohs, but Adonai is the same, powerful, merciful, and near. He still sets people free. Wonka reached into his pocket and handed Asher a golden piece of chocolate shaped like a heart. Keep this, my boy, a reminder that faith, like chocolate, is best when shared. Asher smiled, tucking it away, and that's the sweetest ending of all. Hak Pesach Samayek, and so as the factory lights dimmed and the stars glimmered above, Asher Benjamin's story came to a close. From the burning bush to the parted sea, from the matzah to the Afikoman, one truth echoed through the chocolate halls of Wonka's world. God redeems, he rescues, he delivers. From slavery to freedom, from darkness to light, his love endures forever. And somewhere in the distance, if you listen closely, you might still hear a soft tune floating through the factory. Oompa-loom doom patty day, Adonai has shown the way. Through every trial, through every test, he's faithful still, and we are blessed.